When it comes to ship naming, there's always drama and politics involved, especially in the case of the U.S. Navy. People often wonder if there will ever be a U.S. Donald J. Trump, an American supercarrier bearing the name of the controversial former president.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
But as we delve into the history and intricacies of U.S. Navy ship naming, the reasons for this possibility might not be what you think. Let's embark on a journey through time to explore the fascinating world of ship naming in the U.S. Navy. The U.S. Navy's ship naming tradition dates back to the late 18th century when the American merchant ships faced threats from pirates, and the government needed a means to protect them. The Naval Act of 1794, signed by George Washington, authorized the construction of 6 frigates to safeguard American interests at sea. However, at that time, there were no formal procedures for naming ships. It wasn't until 1819 that Congress passed an act mandating that all U.S. Navy ships be named by the Secretary of the Navy, a tradition that continues to this day. The first Secretary of the Navy, Benjamin Stoddard, already broke the naming convention by selecting the name U.S. Chesapeake for the 6th frigate, deviating from George Washington's desire to name the ships after the United States Constitution. This departure from tradition set the stage for future controversies and debates over ship names. Over time, the rules for naming different types of Navy ships have evolved. Destroyers, for instance, are often named after famous U.S. naval leaders and distinguished heroes like U.S. Arleigh Burke, Forrest Sherman, and Zumwalt. Littoral combat ships are usually named after mid-tier cities, small towns, and other U.S. communities. Meanwhile, amphibious assault ships are named after important battles. In recent times, new underway replenishment oilers have been named after individuals who fought for civil rights and human rights, such as U.S. John Lewis, Harvey Milk, and Earl Warren. If new frigates are to be introduced, they are likely to be named after the first 6 frigates from 1794, continuing the tradition of honoring historical significance. While ship naming rules provide guidelines, deviations from these rules have been commonplace throughout history. These deviations often spark controversies, especially when a ship is named after a person, leading to accusations of political motivation, inappropriateness, or disrespect. For instance, the decision to name an aircraft carrier after a living former president involves political negotiations and compromises across the aisle. The Clinton administration agreed to name an aircraft carrier after the former Republican president, Ronald Reagan, while he was still alive, but only after another carrier was named for Democrat President Harry Truman. The practice of naming aircraft carriers after past U.S. presidents has become a tradition in the U.S. Navy. However, not every president gets their own ship. For example, President Nixon, despite being a Navy veteran, never had a ship named after him, due to the controversy surrounding his resignation during the Watergate scandal. Similarly, Presidents Clinton, Obama, and Trump also haven't had ships named after them. This could be attributed to their lack of military service or their unpopular reputation at the end of their terms, like the younger President Bush. Ship naming, it seems, isn't just about honoring past leaders, but also taking into account their historical significance and public sentiment. Naming U.S. Navy warships after foreign nationals is not entirely unheard of. For example, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer was named after former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Although this naming decision faced opposition, Churchill's honorary U.S. citizenship in 1963 helped justify the choice. However, the timing of the ship's naming raised questions as it coincided with the Clinton administration's involvement in the Irish peace process. Some speculated that naming a ship after Churchill might have been a strategic move to foster favorable relations with the British Parliament. Ship names have, at times, been chosen to address other concerns. In one instance, The Reagan administration faced criticism for naming an attack submarine USS Pittsburgh during a period of high unemployment in the area. Some believed that the name choice was an attempt to pacify the residents' dissatisfaction with the job situation. On the other hand, ship names have occasionally offended religious groups, leading to modifications. The U.S. city of Corpus Christi and Los Angeles-class attack submarine was renamed to avoid association with the religious term Corpus Christi, which means body of Christ in Latin. The process of ship naming has always been a contentious issue between orthodox traditionalists and pragmatic traditionalists. The former group believes in adhering strictly to naming conventions, while the latter sees room for flexibility and adaptation. Attempts to create rigid naming systems have often failed, largely due to most Navy secretaries being pragmatic traditionalists. The naming of 3 attack submarines as Seawolf, Connecticut, and Jimmy Carter, named after a fish, a state, and a president, stands as a testament to both the successes and failures of ship naming conventions. As the U.S. Navy's fleet and technologies continue to evolve, so will the names of its ships. Ship naming conventions will likely adapt to reflect changing times and honor those who have left a lasting impact on American history. The question of whether there will ever be a USS Donald J. Trump remains uncertain. Ship naming in the U.S. Navy is not only a matter of tradition and rules, but also of political negotiations and public sentiment. As history has shown, ship names have the potential to stir controversies, create unintended consequences, and be influenced by external factors. So, will there ever be a U.S. Donald J. Trump? Only time will tell, but the process of ship naming will undoubtedly continue to evolve, ensuring that each ship's name holds significance and reflects the spirit of the nation it serves. The U.S. Navy's ship names will forever remain a window into the complexities of American politics, history, and society. As discussions around a potential U.S. Donald J. Trump persist, it is essential to recognize that ship naming is a deeply political and symbolic act. The decision to name a ship after a controversial figure can be polarizing, leading to debates on the merits and implications of such a choice. While some may argue that honoring former presidents with ship names is a tradition that should be upheld, others may view it as an endorsement of their policies and actions. The potential naming of a ship after Donald J. Trump would undoubtedly spark intense discussions on the role of ship names as political statements.